the anterior part of the hand. Okay. So this is usually caused by some sort of backwards push, right? Fall backwards, try and catch yourself, and now this time the bone gets pushed anterior. Okay. So it's important we are able to tell the difference between the coles, which is forwards, versus reverse coles, where you fall backward, right? Coles, you fall forwards, and so the fracture goes posterior. Reverse coles, you fall backward, so the fracture goes anterior. So here are some examples of a reverse coles fracture. Right, once again, on a PA wrist, really hard to tell which direction it's going. But on this lateral wrist, do you see how the piece has gone forwards, has gone anterior? Right, this is the wrist, this distal part has gone anterior. Do you see that? Right, so that is your reverse coles, your Smith fracture. All right, a few more. Oh, that's interesting. Where did my description focus go? All right, I'll have to fix this later.
Freestyle.
What's that?
Said freestyle it.
Freestyle, yeah. So, Hutchinson fracture, also known as a chauffeur fracture. So what happens here? If you take a look on this side, the lateral side, right? This is the thumb side. You see the first metacarpal here, right? You see the radius right here. And what is this here? Styloid, right? And now take a look right here.
Ooh.
So it chips off the styloid, right? So if you want to look for fractures, remember, follow the cortex. So you follow the white line here, and suddenly you see that white line has this interruption right here, right? You follow it along this way, and you see the white line has an interruption right here, and so you know that the fracture is going like this. So this is called the Hutchinson fracture, also called the chauffeur fracture. Why chauffeur? Because, well, what is a chauffeur?
It's a driver, so when you hit the car head on, probably.
So no, not about hitting the car head on.
No.
Yes, Jay.
Would it be when they're like carrying something?
Carrying something? Not quite. So I want you to think old school. Old school
like
cars.
Open the door for you?
Oh, even more old school.
People that pop the gears.
So how on earth did you start a car back in the old days? You didn't just turn a key. You had a crank on the front of the car. You had to crank up your car to get it started.
No way, bro.
I don't remember.
So no, this is like before 1900. It's like actual 1900s. But not 1910s. 1910s, they already were kind of moving away from this, right? But like 1900s, right? You have to crank up your car like this. Right? So the chauffeurs, they're cranking, the engine starts, crank starts spinning by itself, and bam, hits the wrist. So fractures it like that. So that's why it's called a chauffeur fracture. Right? Over here in the oblique,
It's a fracture.
it's a bit harder to see, but it's right there as well.
It's not the fracture of the wrist, it's the fracture of the radius.
So it's right here by the wrist, right? But it is a fracture of the radius. A lot of our wrist fractures, right? Our wrist fractures are actually fractures of the very distal radius or ulna. Okay? Primarily the radius.
So you said it was caused by the impact?
Right, so like the crank would spin and it would hit this part of the radius. All right, so this is, I believe, our first ulnar fracture. This is the Monteja fracture / fracture dislocation. So if you take a look here, right, there is this fracture here of the ulna, right? Radius, ulna, right? Ulna ice cream cone, right? Or ice cream scoop. And not only is there a fracture here, but if you look at the radial head, it's no longer attached to the what?
Humerus.
What part of the humerus does the radius attach to?
No, capitulum.
Capitulum.
Capitulum. Very good. Right? So we have the fracture of the ulna, but the radius is no longer attached to the capitulum either, right? It's been dislocated.
That was on the test, right?
So why does this happen? Right? Crazy person with a baseball bat comes after you. Right? You try to defend yourself. No, don't hit me. Bam. Right? You're trying to protect yourself. Ulna side is up. So ulna gets fractured and the force pops out the radius.
Ooh.
Do you see that? So that is major fracture dislocation. Some other examples, right? Once again, we see that the ulna here is fractured, and you see that the radius is no longer attached to the humerus, right? It has been dislocated.
So would you say that?
Yes, radius.
For the exams, for this class, are you gonna put like the way you're gonna word these? Is it gonna be like literally like the definition and then like the name, or is it gonna be like if I have this kind of fracture, what kind of exam do I need to?
So yes, it could be either way. It could be either way. So for a Monteja fracture dislocation, right, you would want to do forearm X-rays, right? So your other options are skull X-rays, femur X-rays, chest X-rays, right? Those would obviously be incorrect. Right? If it was hand X-rays, if it was finger X-rays, if it was humerus X-rays, those would obviously be incorrect. So it could ask you what views, because you should know which anatomy the fracture affects. Like, does it affect the hand, or does it affect the wrist, or does it affect the elbow or the forearm? Okay, let's see, hold on. I had a question over here first. Melody.
But are you going to do like
I'm not going to focus on
Showing
that.
that.
I'm not going to focus on that. Let's see, Shaheen.
Sir, the radial head is dislocated or the radial head is broken?
It is dislocated. This is the radial head. This is where it should be attached. It has moved over.
Just the radial head.
Now, does it look like there's a fracture here?
That's a kid.
That's a kid. Why does being a kid matter for something like
It's
this?
a epiphyseal plate, and there's several of them.
Very good. That's the epiphyseal plate. That's the growth plate. It has not fused yet. So this is not a fracture, right? That is not a fracture. So it's important that you are also able to tell the difference between just a regular growth plate versus an actual fracture. Right, so yeah, poor kid. All right, and so that pretty much takes care of all the fractures of the upper limb that we're going to talk about. However, we do have some other non-fracture pathologies to cover. So, for example, we have a bone